But Gaurav, we were talking about the influence of America and how it tried to bully India into probably, as we say, maybe out of politeness, nobody's saying or addressing the elephant in the room, but how Trump has almost 40 times mentioned that he tried to stop the war between India and Pakistan. Probably it is all about that. It's about the ego of one man and using his country's might to bully another country into submission and wanting them to toe the line. But here we heard in this statement from the Chinese president that they want to stress on strategic autonomy. They want to boost trade while avoiding third-party influence. Now, third-party influence can be read by many as US influence, especially since it is the country right now globally that is trying to impose tariffs on every possible country. So even though US may not be mentioned, but could it be US that both the countries are referring to when they say that they want to increase trade without while avoiding third-party influence?
So India's aspirations, Anjali, are to become the third largest economy, and for that India needs both the United States of America and China. And India's entire effort has been to have good relations with both America and China, in fact with every country in the world, because that's the only way India will grow to be one of the largest economies in the world. The aspiration is to be larger than just the third largest economy. The third largest economy we are likely to be between 2027 and 2030, all going well. So you wouldn't want either conflict to derail you or tensions like this to derail you. And that is why India's effort was to have a quick trade deal with the United States of America. When President Trump was sworn in on the 20th of January 2025, Prime Minister Narendra Modi was amongst the first world leaders to go to Washington, D.C. in February 2025, and there was some conversation by fall they will have the trade deal, and by 2030, bilateral trade would be $500 billion. That was the effort. A lot of effort was being made to bring more investment in India. And India, if you recall, even before Trump's swearing in, had taken multiple measures, to ensure that the tariffs, which were around 17% is what experts tell us, are brought down even further. India is not the Maharaja of tariffs. I mean, that is the kind of propaganda Donald Trump does. And when he says that so-and-so country promised $500 billion investment in the United States and bringing in thousands and thousands and lakhs of jobs, none of that is actually happening on ground. These are figures that Donald Trump just cooks up, as some analysts argue. He cooks up figures which are huge in order to market himself and make that trade deal. But India, as a democracy and as a responsible democracy, cannot make these statements that we will invest hundreds of dollars in America, point one, point two, and cannot even say that America had a role to play in a ceasefire when it did not, is what government of India has emphatically said, and the Prime Minister said that on the floor of the House. So India still is hopeful that there could be some kind of an agreement with the United States of America when America sees sense. Till the time America sees sense, India will persevere. India, will persevere and will continue to push for a trade deal, but not at the cost of compromising our national interests. Point one. Point two, with China also we want better ties, but not at the cost of, there being tensions on the borders. So there has to be peace and tranquility at the borders, forward movement on the borders, and forward movement in trade, because all of that will help India grow. We need fertilizers from China. We need that tunnel boring equipment. We need the magnets. We need the rare earth material in India. We need all of that for our EV sector to grow. So all of that is required. So whatever, trade deals have to be done with European Union, with the United Kingdom, it's already happened, with the West Asian countries. India is going to do all of that and is trying to do all of that to ensure Indian interests are best served, whether it's, linking up with China here, America there, Middle East there, European Union there, with Japan it's huge, with Australia the effort is to increase it even further. So that's India's effort to just make sure Indian national interests are best served.
But national interest, we did see President Xi Jinping expressing commitment to a fair, reasonable resolution of the boundary issue. Now, how should we read that, Gaurav? And no better to explain this to us than you. What does it mean for us and our eastern borders?
So China has repeatedly tried to unilaterally alter the line of actual control. And in Doklam 2017 and Galwan 2020, India resisted Chinese creeping forward and occupying Indian territory, which led to friction. We lost 20 lives, including Colonel Santosh Babu, who was awarded a Mahavir Chakra posthumously. Chinese lost many lives. They've officially admitted to losing their commanding officer and 4 soldiers. Unofficially, Russian agency TASS said more than 44 Chinese soldiers were killed. But China hasn't come out with full figures and numbers. In fact, we still do not know how many Chinese soldiers were killed in the 1962 India-China war,
Right.
because these are things that China also tries to keep a secret. However, the fact remains that China has also realized that India militarily is a growing power. India was able to resist the Chinese advance, and you have 50,000 troops amassed on borders. Now, fair and equitable solution means no unilateral changing of LAC. At least you start demarking positions on the map, at least start exchanging maps, at least declare your claim line of where you are, and then move forward to decide where each party is. In the past, there were opportunities. Initially, India did not grab an opportunity. Later, China did not grab an opportunity, and this situation has festered. But you don't want festering wounds on your borders on all sides. You'd rather move forward with an amicable solution, if possible, not at the cost of compromising your national interests. So right now, between Foreign Minister of China, Wang Yi, their special representative on boundary, and Ajit Dovala, India's national security advisor, they will draw up a mechanism on which they will move forward. Both the leaders are satisfied with the way peace is prevailing, at least as of now. They're moving forward on the economic leg that benefits China, that benefits India, because China will not do anything which will unilaterally benefit India. India too now is rising as a power, though a $4 trillion economy compared to 18 trillion of China and 30 trillion of the United States. So it will take us time to get where we want to get. But India also doesn't want to do anything that will unilaterally benefit China. There's been a lot of unilateral concessions in the past. The effort is now that you ensure that some of your interests are better protected, but then you also have to keep importing from China to keep India's costs in India low. That's also one of the efforts to keep our economy flourishing or growing. You have to keep costs in India low. So that's a fine balance that India attempts to draw. Sometimes you win and sometimes you don't. But that's the effort government sources explain to us. Right now, with that thought, they're moving forward, that our economy must continue to get spurred. It must continue to get oil in terms of actual oil from Russia and investment from other countries to ensure that we continue to grow to be the 3rd largest economy and then amongst the top 3 economies of the world, top economies of the world.
Right, absolutely.